Hey y'all, it's your boy S Valens coming back with another video. I know it's been a minute, it's been a while, but we're coming fresh out of YCS Pasadena, and I need to update y'all with what I took to play. I did take my Grand Maju, a separate video coming soon, but today I'm gonna highlight the MVP of the tournament for me, and that was this brand new branded Despia Blue Eyes. Um, so shout out for all the reprints in the 2022 Megatons that allowed me to buy all the Despia stuff. Because before that, the reason I didn't buy all the Alluvers, all the branded openings, branded in reds, was because of the price. But since they tanked in price, I was able to, get a playset of everything and make this deck. It's still a work in progress, but for now, it's probably the best one that I can make with my Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge and all that stuff. So it performed really well. We did a couple side events, me and my brother. We didn't do the main event, so we kind of missed the registration on that, but it is what it is. Um, I did a Winamat, got all the way to the finals with this deck, but I did end up losing. So this deck went up against Sprite, it went up against Heroes, Flanders, managed to 2-0 everything except the Sprite. For the Sprite, he beat me the first match, and then I went 2. So 1-2, and I ended up losing to a Tearlament's Bestial. Nonsense, not nonsense. It's the tier 0 format that we're going into, and that deck is the tier 0 deck. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm not mad that I lost to that deck. Managed to be Sprite, so it's great. This deck can perform. All the ratios in here are going to be changing because I have a couple other cards coming in. But until then, this is what I've been using. It's worked out really well. You might be surprised. I don't know. Hopefully you get some inspiration out of this. I'm still this is the third Blue Eyes video I do because I just love that archetype. I love that card. Ever since I was watching the anime when I was a little kid. But without further ado, I'm gonna stop taking your time. Let's go straight into the deck profile. Alright guys, and as you can see, we got it all laid out for you to get started. Instead of doing the usual monster spell traps, I'm gonna do it by sort of engines, so to speak. So yeah, so you could get a sense of what the only cards that I think are necessary, and or if you want to cut something from a specific engine, go ahead. So we're gonna get started with the Blue Eyes. I'm still keeping almost the same. I have 2 of the vanilla Blue Eyes and 2 of the Jet. The Jet still really great, especially when you get both of them on the field and none of your cards can be targeted, including themselves. So it adds that layer of protection. Now, I know a lot of decks now are non-target banishing or non-target or just bouncing back to your hand. But if it does come up where you want to have that protection from destruction, let's say they're trying to Harpy's Feather Duster you or Lightning Storm you for your monsters, you can play around that with the Jet. And next, for the final Blue Eyes monsters, we have 3 of the stones. Because all the Despia cards in here allow you to fusion summon, you don't necessarily have to strictly go into Link Karibo to get these out of the field anymore. And it doesn't lock you. Let's say you want to link this off, but you have a branded fusion. You no longer have to sort of choose what you want to do. So with that, these 3 are still really great as starting your plays for your Blue Eyes cards. Whether it be sending the Blue Eyes White Dragon or the Jet. I have a lot of 1-ups for the Blue Eyes cards just because it is, a different alternative way to play. We have 1 Ultimate Fusion, 1 True Light, 1 Dragon Shine, and your Mystic Mine Out. Blue Eyes finally has a Mystic Mine Out, Strength and Unity. So basically, this is your 1-card starter for Blue Eyes. You send the vanilla Blue Eyes and you send the Jet. So from there, anytime a card gets destroyed during that, you could bring it back. But a lot of the times, I'm really just baiting Ash with this. If I have this and Branded Fusion in my hand, I'm gonna activate Dragon Shrine first, and then if they don't Ash it, okay, cool. If they do, even better. Branded Fusion, start off your plays. True Light, with True Light, you can search off Ultimate Fusion, and you could also, if you have a Blue Eyes in your grave, let's say you did this, and then you have True Light the next turn, you could just set this and bring the Blue Eyes into the field, and it's a 3k body. So if they have no way to, they're either gonna use one of their destruction effects or one of their ascending effects with their cards for that blue eyes, just because it is 3,000 attack points they need to get over. Or if they don't have any of that, or you're playing like another rogue deck or something, they're gonna have to waste material on the blue eyes. Strength and Unity. Shout out Halistasia Gaming, and shout out my brother too. He ran this in the tournament, and it works really well because I am running both Dark Magician and Blue Eyes in this deck. You'll see why. And you're probably thinking, why are you running Dark Magician? Well, we pulled Dragoon, so we gotta run Dragoon. Anytime you fusion with either of those, you get to non-target banish due to the effect of the spell. So if you're under mine and you could somehow, work with one of your other fusion cards and using either of those monsters, this effect goes live and then you get to banish that mine. It came up, we were in a tag duel. I'll upload the little vlog later on. But basically, we got ourselves into a tag duel without knowing what a tag duel is. So, and we were under mine. We had to play under mine. But my brother had this card in his deck. He drew it. He used Ultimate Fusion, fusioned the Tyrant, but the Blue Eyes wasn't in the field, so he couldn't like destroy it with Ultimate Fusion. And then he banished the mine, and we continued playing. So it's a great card. Really unknown card too. A lot of the time your opponent will ask to read it because like, who's running Blue Eyes? This Blue Eyes card in 2022. You are. We are. It's dope. Now that's it for all the Blue Eyes cards. Next is gonna be, we're still running a Dira too. So we got the little Dogmatika little package. We have one Ecclesia, one Fleur de Lis, two Nadir, and one Punishment. You're not drawing these as much, but when you do, it's great for the Nadir targets. We're only running two Nadir targets in the deck. And Punishment is still Punishment. It's a great way to destroy, especially if you use Punishment while you have Jet in the graveyard and a Blue Eyes. Use Punishment, destroy, bring the Jet out, continue with your play. Ecclesia still comes up where you want to special summon her in defense, especially if they do have an extra deck monster. They can't destroy her by battle, so it's great. And then Fleur de Lis also comes up where you want to negate an effect. Usually just wait it out until because it is a quick effect, so just wait it out until they bring out something that they need to use. Chain Fleur de Lis, negate, because you will have the Ecclesia. 9 times out of 10 I am searching the Fleur de Lis off the Ecclesia. So Punishment, I'm really only hard drawing it, or when I've already gone through Fleur de Lis, I'll get the Punishment in my hand. Up next, we got the Albaz. So we got one Fallen of Albaz. We got one Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Basically an Albaz when he's in the Graver Field. So yeah, and also with him, I am planning on running two Fallen of Albaz. So with his effect, you get to send from deck to the graveyard. And after that, you get to draw a card. So you go up. So those are the two Albaz. And then we are also running a fair amount of Despia cards. We're running Ad Libitum because its effect is really, really good. We have one Comedy, one Tragedy, and then two Aluber. Eventually, I am trying to run a Dramaturge of Despia. I believe that one has a negation. But this is all you really need, because a lot of the effects for your other Despia cards, you are discarding. So you want to get these in the grave because they all have a different effect on the grave. With Aluber, you get to negate. So it's great. And a lot of the times he is my normal summon of the deck. So to search out either Branded Fusion if I don't have it, or any other Branded Spell Trap that I would need. And you're running a lot in this deck now, which is great because they synergize really well together. Branded Fusion still at 3. Honestly, in my opinion, this is a must at 3. I don't side this out a lot of the times, or anytime really, because this and Super Poly are probably the only cards that I feel are necessary to have in your main deck. And then we have Branded Opening at 2, sorry, and then one Branded in red. I did cut this down from 3 to 2 because I found myself breaking on it a lot. But basically, you discard, search the Aluber or any other Despia card if you already ran through your Aluber, get their effects, and after it does have a graveyard effect where if this card is in the graveyard and a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you could banish this instead. So you have protection if you don't have the jet on the field with your other fusion monsters. You do have that backup with branded opening. It did come up. It did come up because it also protects the Tyrant Dragon because it's a fusion monster. So all these cards, every single fusion monster except Mud Dragon and the Super Poly targets don't really work well with the like protection effects or the other Despia effects, but everything else really does because they're all level 8 or higher. Your Tyrant and your Dragoon. We have the 1-ofs, 1 Despia Theater branded, 1 branded Banishment, 1 branded in white. Basically more ways to fusion summon, right? And Super Poly, a banishing Super Poly. So this is also why I run a good amount of Despia like monsters in the deck, because as long as you get one in the graveyard, branded banishment goes live, where you could let them set up their board, flip this, target that, or whatever other fusion monsters in your grave to special summon, and then you get to Super Poly. You get to use their own field and not only destroy them, like they don't go to the graveyard, they get banished. So it's really well. I might even run this at 2. I'm still debating on it. I've play tested a while. I don't know. Like, it is a card that's worth running at more than 1, but for now it's worked the best at 1. So yeah, and Brandon and White as well. I don't know about these ratios, but so far it's worked. Against every deck that I've played, and yeah, so that's it for all the branded Despia cards in this deck. Up next, we have like the Sword of Mist, not really an archetype. 1 Dark Magician. You only need this card to get Dragoon out. That's it. You don't need to run Red Eyes. You don't need to run Red Eyes Fusion. Thank God you don't need to run that card, because Red Eyes Fusion locks you out of special summoning. Like if you use that, the only thing you can bring out is Dragoon. So if they find a way to either out Dragoon that turn or negate it, like you're done. So Dark Magician is the only one you need, and I will explain how I go into Dragoon, or what I do to go into Dragoon in a bit. So we got Dark Magician. We got the second best card in this deck, Super Poly, still at 3. And the heroes matchup was really easy because they're all darks, fusion. So Predaplant, Dragostapelia came up a lot, Starving Venom came up a lot, and Garura. I think I summoned Garura out every single turn, every single match I played, because I was just drawing Super Poly. And also, every time I summoned Dragoon out on the field, I won. So, and it's at $14 a piece now, and you only run 1, so it's really worth it if you're trying to like step up your game and you have either a Blue Eyes or Red Eyes or even a Dark Magician deck. Get some Dragoons. They're cheap now. They're affordable now. They're no longer like $100-$200. We have 2 triple attacks, MVP. Really only drawing this at YCS. I didn't use the third effect of sending from their hand. Nor did I take control of the monsters, but I did draw 2 cards a lot, and I remember one time I drew into the branded fusion. So yeah, like they asked me for the Allure, and then drew a branded fusion, so it didn't really matter. So like I know a lot of people are, instead of running hand traps now, they are running more extender or utility cards, or cards like Dark Ruler No More. I saw that a lot. But when it comes up, and it doesn't hurt to draw 2 cards. And finally, the best trap in my opinion, 3 Infinite Imperm. For some reason I keep drawing this alongside a Super Poly and it just works. So if I go first, make sure to set both of those, wait for their turn, Imperm them. Just you gotta be familiar with the decks that you're playing, because you want to know what to stop. If you just blindly Imperm something, it's probably they will play around it, because especially for Sprite and Tier Limits, they can play through so many interruptions. So as long as you know what to stop, and as long as you know what to hit with the Imperm and the Super Poly, a lot of the times that's all you need to negate their plays and negate their board. Imperm, wait for them to like go through it, set up your board again, Super Poly, get rid of their board, bring out a monster, and it just works. You know, sometimes that's why I really like this deck, because while yes, it doesn't have as much utility as like a tier limit or a sprite deck. If they keep hand trapping you, yeah, you might stop sometimes. But when you don't and you keep going, it works. It's really great too. So that's it for the main deck. It's at 40 cards, I believe. I wouldn't go past 43 in any main deck, just because consistency issues. And I didn't really brick at all for the Blue Eyes. For the first time ever playing a Blue Eyes deck, I did not brick with those cards. So, you know, essentially, it's great. Now, moving on to the extra deck. Salamangreat Almirage. I no longer running Linkuriboh. I'm running Almirage just because let's say you normal summon the Comedy or the Tragedy, like you have to. You can link them off. Because as long as any monster that was normal summon that has 1,000 or less attack, Almirage is good. So, you know, it's great. But I'm still find myself summoning the stone and linking off if I need to. Like, it's probably the last resort. And it's the second effect also comes up where it tributes and your card gets destruction protection as well. So let's say you have Giant on the field, your other cards are protected, and then you use this effect. It's a quick effect, thank God. Tribute itself resolves in the graveyard. It gets protection. So yeah, that came up a lot too. For the Despia stuff, we have one Masquerade and one Quarredis. My bad if I butchered that. I really want to run 2 Masquerade, or the Ad Levitinus, I believe it's called, where it's the one Despia or one Fallen of Albaz, and then it's either one of those two, and then 1+1, so 1 or more dragon monsters, just in case that ever comes up. But it hasn't, and I don't think it will, because Dragon Link is kind of like dead now. But I still want to get that card because it's great, and the effects are pretty cool. But basically, this one, it turns everything except level 8 or higher fusion monsters attack to 0. So you let them do their stuff during the main phase, then you activate this. And Masquerade, they're burning themselves. Actually, when I was playtesting against my brother, I got this guy out, and you know, he kept activating, I kept negating, he kept activating. So I kind of forced him to try to play through it all. But he kept burning himself, and then he wanted to activate, the next turn he wanted to activate Skill Drain. But if he did that, he only had 800 life points left, so if he did that, he would have lost. I ended up winning still, but like, that's what I'm saying, this is really great. And if you have 2, you could burn them for 1200 every time they breathe. And especially with a lot of decks like Sprite, you know, they get their starter out, and then they effect, and the effect engrave, effect special summon, and they link, effect. It's insane how much damage a single one can do, and even more what 2 Masquerades can do. And they each have a graveyard effect. If they're summoned out properly, you know, and he's in the grave and they control an extra deck monster, basically, you could bring him back. The only thing is, when you do that, he does get banished when he leaves the field again, so just be careful. And with him, I believe you can search or special summon Fallen of Albaz. Great cards. They are also super poly targets. Sometimes you want to summon the Despia, wait for them to do their thing, because they all just need 1 light or dark monsters. Every deck is running 1 light or dark monster, and you could clear their boss monsters. So it just works sometimes. We have, got ahead of myself. Standard branded lineup. We have the Titaniclad, Albion, Lubellion, Mare Jade. Standard. Only playing 1 of each. To be honest, that's all you really need. I know a lot of people would much rather play 2 Albion than the Titaniclad, and it makes sense. You know, sometimes you want to get that branded card, especially with Nadir at 2 to search the Ecclesia and the Fleur-de-Lis. You don't really need to run Titaniclad, but when you want a monster with high attack that's unaffected by card effects that turn or monster effects, Titaniclad comes to the clutch. So you could definitely change these ratios around. The only one you really need is the Lubellion, though. And I will tell you why. And up next, we do have really the only 2 Nadir targets you're running now. Entes and Chimera Ephlesia. Chimera Ephlesia for the search, for Poly Fusion, Ultimate Fusion. And Entes does come up a lot where you're destroying any card on their side of the field. And they're 25k attacks, so sometimes they're even you can use Dogmatika punishment to get their effects. So yeah. Super poly targets, standard MVP. Literally any board that's set up, these could take care of them. And their effects are great. Especially the destruction effect came up a lot. And it has come up a lot in both decks that in the Grand Majdu and this deck that I've used it. They gotta play around it. If they destroy it, okay, it's a Raigeki for their special summon, and I'm hard pressed to find a deck that other than Flunderies, like what deck is normal summoning their whole board, I mean, sure, you play against Monarchs. And we do have the protection with his effect. It's a quick effect, just called light, dark, whatever you have in your field. We have the Omni Negate, and then you have the draw and double damage, which I did win the heroes matchup like that. I super polyed his board to get Garura out, and then I used Garura to attack him directly, and then I hit for 3k, and we ended up winning. And your two boss monsters of the extra deck finally are Tyrant and Dragoon. So Tyrant's Tyrant, you hit every monster 34k attack. And not only that, you get to recycle your traps. So if you want to either add a one of like Ice Dragon Prison, which I'm thinking of doing, or you have like branded traps in your grave and you want to get them back to your field easier, Tyrant is definitely the way to go. Dragoon is Dragoon. Literally, like I mentioned before, anytime I made this and it stayed on the field during that while making it, I won the game. Because it's an Omni Gate, first of all. You get one pop because you do make it with one normal monster, the Dark Magician. And yeah, it gains 1,000 attack every time it negates, I believe. So it's very easy to get him up in attack. And with both of these, that's really all you need. All you need, especially, all you need. All right, so let's go on to the side deck, and then I will mention how I bring out Dragoon. It's really easy. You just need the Albaz in your deck, which is why I may actually start running Albaz at 2. Standard side deck, D-Barrier, only card that actually came in clutch this past in the YCS. Different Dimension Ground. I know a lot of people are starting to run this card for that Tier Limits matchup, which is great because it banishes instead of sending to the graveyard. Anti-Spell Fragrance, I'm finding it a lot less effective than it was. Maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe not. Maybe I'll take this out of my side deck. I don't know. We have 2 Nib and 1 Fissure. Fissure. Other than the Flunderies, what deck can play under Fissure? So, just make sure you can do it too. And 3 Cosmic Cyclone. Instead of Twin Twisters, because I'm not running the dangers in this deck, so I don't really benefit from the discarding. So, and it banishes instead of sending to grave, because a lot of the times a lot of other decks can play under that and just recycle. And yeah, so basically what you want to do to get out Dragoon, you use your Branded Fusion. So you activate Branded Fusion, and then you send the Fallen of Albaz with the Dark Magician. So you send these two to get out Lubellion. So these are in your grave. You get out Lubellion. Use Lubellion effect to discard whatever card you're going to discard. And then you shuffle these back, and then you bring out Dragoon. And you have Dragoon. You don't need to... like I said, you don't need to run Red Ice Fusion. You don't need to run the Red Ice card or anything. And, after that, you just keep going with your plays. So a lot of times you're choosing whether you want to go the Mirror route or the Dragoon. If you have both of them, like let's say they wouldn't negate and you have both of them in the grave, GG's. You could go with all the other branded spell traps. But yeah, that's usually what I do. And after that, I haven't had it where I've had both him and Tyrant out on the field. We were going to do that during the tag duels where my brother had his Tyrant out. I was about to get my Dragoon out, but they stopped Lubellion from going through. Unfortunate, but what can you do? So yeah, this is basically my deck. What I took to YCS, I went 3-1 in that win a mat. Did not win the mat, but I got confidence in this deck, and it's really great. And with all the bestial cards that came out, I'm also trying to run, maybe change this deck up a bit to fit those, just because they're like, better hand traps than your usual hand traps. So yeah, I'll see you on the outro. And that is it, y'all. Hopefully you found some usefulness with this video. Like I mentioned before, I'm trying to get Blue Eyes up there, trying to win with this deck. Probably never gonna have like win a major event, but hey, people can dream, right? So it is what it is. And the Despia cards are now affordable, so if you want to like build a deck similar to this, it won't cost you a lot. Cause I remember when Aluber was like $20 a piece, the branded in red, they were like up there and probably like 15 a piece, and you need 3. That's already like close to $100 for those cards. So now that they're cheap, it's a good deck to make. More of a locals deck than the tournament deck for 100% sure. But maybe you get lucky. Maybe you do take this to a tournament. And that is all I have for you guys today. Like I said, Grand Module updated is coming up. YCS vlog is coming up soon. Other than that, have a blessed day.